Hi, welcome to the SportPad with Eugene Tabang Manganyi. On this wonderful morning, Monday morning after the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring in Hungary. Yes, it was a beautiful race, race weekend that happened with Lewis Hamilton coming out victorious on the day, registering back-to-back race victories for the second time this season. So what happened in the entire race is that on Friday it started well, for the Red Bull drivers with Daniel Ricciardo and also Max Verstappen of Red Bull. Racing on the first practice and the second practice being the two fastest cars. And then come Saturday, the first practice or the third practice on Saturday, it was dominated by the beautiful car of Ferrari. The Ferrari drivers, but I think it's fair to say Vettel was the fastest of the two, while Raikkonen also was up there with him at the lead. And surprise, surprise, Mercedes were nowhere to be seen on the day until it rained on Saturday, just before or just after the first qualifying session had begun. That meant that it would be close between the three teams and the six cars of the top three teams for the pole position. But as you'd expect, Hamilton took pole, and Valtteri Bottas made sure that Mercedes locked up the front row in this one, with the second row occupied by Raikkonen and Vettel respectively. Sunday, when Sunday came, it was a mere problem of how are they going to start, and who's going to have an accident that would call on the safety car. But at the beginning, we saw there with all the top cars getting off brilliantly. Only I think Sebastian Vettel didn't get a good start, but made the most of that bad start to pass over his teammate Kimi Raikkonen into third position, still in the first lap. But as soon as the race settled, it was just a case of who's going to pit in first. And as they did in the last Grand Prix, Ferrari called on Kimi Raikkonen to pit first, and Mercedes also replied by putting in Bottas as well, to cover what Ferrari had done with Raikkonen. And that meant that it would put Vettel up into second place. And then when Hamilton quickly, went into the pits, it meant that Vettel would now be the one in the lead, and Vettel needed to build a lead of approximately 23 to 25 seconds for him to go into the pits and come back and in the lead. But he couldn't, because I think he was driving in the soft tires, while Hamilton started with the ultra soft and then went into the pit, got the soft tires on, or the ultra soft. I think the ultra soft on. And when he came back, they were both on the same tires, and he couldn't really build the lead that he needed. I think the most that his lead went up to was about 13 seconds, and eventually he was called in. And when he went in, unfortunately, I think the front rear the left rear tire couldn't get on quickly, so I think they made something like a 5.7 or 4.7 second pit stop, which was 2 seconds slower than the Mercedes team, and then that cost him dearly, because he would have came back in front of Bottas into second, but because of that slow pit stop, came back in third. And although he had a faster car overall, him being stuck behind Bottas meant that eventually when he did overtake Bottas, there was not enough time for him to catch Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton won that one, and Vettel was second. In third place it was Raikkonen as well, and the reason why Raikkonen went into third place is when Vettel eventually passed Bottas, they made contact. I think Bottas locked up and went into Vettel, but fortunately for both the drivers, they didn't take them out. That incident didn't take them out. Then Raikkonen also passed Bottas in that incident itself, and then Bottas, when he went back, he was now being caught up by the Red Bull car of Daniel Ricciardo, who had started 12th and was 14th at some stage of the race, and so it was brilliant for him. It was a brilliant drive for him to find himself in 5th place, and then when he eventually tried to pass Bottas again bumped into him, and eventually he kept his place, but his team also told him to give that position back to Ricciardo. So Ricciardo finished 4th and Bottas finished 5th. 6th went to Pierre Gasly, who has for this season, for the majority of the season, he has overachieved with his car. And let me check for you who also so as I mentioned, the sixth went to Pierre Gasly. Kevin Magnussen was 7th. I heard him speaking in the morning, and then he was happy with this race. It wasn't an eventful race for him, and he was happy with his finish, particularly finishing above Nico Hülkenberg, who is his closest rival in this year's championship. Him and also Alonso to some extent. Then 8th went to Alonso, and 9th went to Carlos Sainz, the teammate to Nico Hülkenberg. The last point went to the Haas of Roman Grosjean. So that's how the race ended. But now we are entering into the break. We are now into a 4-week break in Formula One, where the drivers are going to go and refresh themselves. Although we heard that Lewis Hamilton is not really going to take a break. So let's hear from him after he won the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah, the last couple of races have been really particularly good, but we've got work to do. But I'm really proud of what we've achieved till now. We've definitely had ups and downs in this championship. Geez, what a roller coaster ride it is! But the team would just remain strong. We just try to be diligent in everything we do and just keep on pushing, and just giving it everything. And if you look at the last race, could have only dreamt of coming out with a result like that, considering the issue we had. We obviously had the reliability issue in Austria. We would have even more points, obviously, but really happy with the last 2 races, back-to-back wins, particularly with the rain yesterday. So it's really just about maximizing in every scenario that you're faced with. And even if it had been dry, we would have tried to have maximized and done the best we could. But the Ferraris had the pace this weekend, as they have the Cup. Particularly, this is a Ferrari circuit in that respect. But the race was different. I had great pace in the race, and I was able to utilize the tires in a certain way that kept them a long way away. Usually, it's a switch-off period. So usually, we have 2 weeks. So usually, I'm single and I'm a bachelor, so I try and have a bit of fun initially. In actual fact, this is a little bit different this time, because normally I go to Carnival in the Caribbean, but now I'm going to spend my first bit of time with family, which I'm really excited about. And then I have something with my best friends, and then a couple of party days, and then I go on a kind of relaxing period, but where I'm particularly training. But I think generally through the whole period of time, I'm going to be training, preparing, trying to make sure I'm just gathering. I want to improve my physique physicality-wise, I'm not struggling out there at all, but you could always be better. There's always areas you can improve on. So that's really a part of the goal also in that couple of weeks, to make sure I come back with more energy, because the second half is long, it's intense, and that's when you really need to turn up the heat. So that's the goal. It's been epic. It's been trying and physically and mentally and emotionally demanding, but a period that I'm really proud of. Look where we're standing. We've won four races or 5 races or whatever it is this year. We're ahead of the Ferraris, who, like 7-8 races in, really turned up the heat, and or maybe 8-9 races in, and really to come away with the results that we've had the last couple was just a great showing of strength and depth from our team. The guys are working so hard. We've just got to keep at it. We've got so much work to do to really apply more pressure in this second half. This is where we now need to turn up the heat, and this is not a sprint, it's a marathon, so that's what we're just working.
All right, as you can hear, he is not really looking to or take a vacation of some sort. He is, he wants to get into the thick of things and be ready for the second half or the second part of the season. So yeah, he was victorious there. So it means now he is taking a 24-point lead atop the championship, in front of Sebastian Vettel, who I don't think would be, disappointed with his outing yesterday in the Hungarian Grand Prix, particularly after what had happened last weekend in his home Grand Prix, crashing on his own, and considering the fact that he made contact with Bottas, that could have resulted badly for him. So for him to have, just taken that 17 points, I think it would have been a good outing for him. I think he would have been happy. So let's see what he had to say as well.
Knowing from the first stint with these yellow tires, with the soft tires, that they will drop off at the end and the rears will be in trouble, I wasn't rushing with 30 laps to go to pass him. So I was sitting back waiting, and then for the last 10 laps trying to close on him, and knowing that I will get more and more in range to try and do something, and that's what we did. So turn 1 he defended, and I got a good exit out of turn 1 and had DRS. Obviously I had more traction with my rears, generally the tires that I tried to take care of earlier, to be in that position. And then I think I was ahead, and I was quite surprised when I got the hit from behind, but I think he had no grip being so close to me at that point. We've seen I got caught out in France. I think Kimi got caught out. One of the Haases got caught out in Silverstone. When you're so close behind another car, then you practically have no grip at all. So I'm not surprised he locked up, but obviously we were quite lucky that he didn't take us out. So I could have had a puncture as well, and then it could have been quite a disaster. But in that case, obviously it was good to get the move and get ahead. No, obviously last week was a disaster if you look at the result and what it could have been, but now it's like that. I can't rewind the clock, and I'm happy to look forward. I think we have a car that we can fight with. I can understand from the other side that they maybe want to push it in a way that we are dominant, but I think we're still a long way off dominance. I think we were able to get back. I think in France we got whipped. They were faster than us. And then within 2-3 races, we were able to get back to be a match, and probably be just a little bit ahead in qualifying, and generally be able to fight in qualifying. So probably it seemed that the rain god has a Mercedes in his garage, but I'm sure we can get him an upgrade for the second half of the season. It didn't work maybe for us, but that's how it is. You still have to make the best out of it, and they did better than us. So I'm quite confident if we have the speed and can improve our car still from where we are, then we should be in the mix and in the fight. So happy with how the season went so far, and I believe there's more to come.
All right, so we're now taking a 4-week break, as I mentioned, but we take a 4-week break in a battle of the Constructors' Championship, where it has been neck and neck. We've seen now, I think the past weekend, Ferrari was behind the Mercedes by 20 points. They have now cut it down into 10 points going next time around in Spa in Belgium. And that is a race, that is, the second half of the season, that's when Lewis Hamilton usually excels, and that's when Mercedes also, usually excels. So we wait to see if whether it will be the same as the past season. But I truly believe, and even the drivers themselves believe, that this is a season and a half. This is a season where it could even go down to the last race in Abu Dhabi in November. So yeah, we'll wait for that, but first we need to the other thing that caught my eye is Toto Wolff came in and said Bottas was a good wingman for Mercedes, and that didn't go down very, very well with Bottas, and I think that is a talking point for us to get into, because if you look at it, you can clearly see that in the Ferraris, they are really it seems like they are the ones responsible for Kimi Raikkonen not winning races. Why am I saying that? It's because if you check at their strategies when it comes to Raikkonen, obviously it's not the same as Vettel, but they tend to pit Raikkonen very early in the race, and once you pit him very early into the race, in the 15th lap or the 16th lap, it means now you're putting the tires that is going on to under pressure to last for the whole race. And we know as tires get older, then they start losing more grip, they start being slippery, and then they're not quicker because the temperature of the tires go higher and higher by every lap. And now that means that he needs to come back for a second stop. And now once he comes back to a second stop, what happens to the other cars? Eventually, because Vettel would not have pitted for the second time, he is in front of him. Same goes for the Mercedes as well, so they really cost him dearly because of pitting him just after Raikkonen was pitted. I think they should have just stuck to their, that's what they do. It seems like it's clear for the top two cars that, or for the top two teams, that who is really the first and second drivers there, particularly at Ferrari. You can clearly see that Raikkonen is not really being favored when it comes to team strategy. Down into the Red Bulls, they had a bad race. I think they suffered their 8th retirement of the season when Max Verstappen lost the power and subsequently did not finish. It was a good race for Ricciardo, who had started 12th, as I mentioned earlier, to finish 4th for him. Some of his overtakes were brilliant. I voted for him on the F1 website to say he was my driver of the day, but at the end of the day, I think I had to give it to Pierre Gasly. For me, he has been punching above his weight all season long in the Toro Rosso, the second team, or the Red Bulls junior team, if we should put it that way. So for him to have qualified to have out-qualified both the Red Bulls, in their junior team or their junior car, makes for good reading for him, so perhaps next season he would, or in the coming season, he's the one that would be racing for the big guns. So yeah, we're taking a 4-week break on the F1, but we're not really taking a 4-week break on the SportPad. So yeah, as you can see there on your screen, those are my contacts. So let's talk. You can contact me on any of those if you want to make contact with me. So from me, Eugene Thabang Mangani, thank you so much for joining us. Let's talk next time around when we will be focusing on some football, cricket, and also other sports as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.